Hello and welcome to The Direct Approach with Wayne Moorhead, an exclusive podcast by DSN filled with candid and insightful conversations with leading corporate executives about today's evolving direct sales channel. In today's episode, Wayne is joined by Nathan Moore, President of Global Sales and Marketing of Mary Kay, one of the industry's iconic brands and stories. Nathan shares an inspiring story of his own about his journey to Mary Kay that begins with him growing up near the company's headquarters and one of his first interactions with the brand. Wayne and Nathan cover topics ranging from leadership, technology, and strategies for staying relevant in the beauty industry. Nathan also discusses the power of simplicity and how that philosophy and the company's mission-driven approach have been key to keeping the global company aligned around its mission for 60 years. Plus, Nathan shares what he believes is the one Mary Kay principle that has the potential to change everything. Tune in now to gain valuable insights on direct selling, leadership, women empowerment, and more. Please help me welcome your host, Wayne Moorhead, and today's guest, Nathan Moore, President of Global Sales and Marketing of Mary Kay.
Hello and welcome to another episode of DSN's Direct Approach podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Moorhead. And today I'm joined by an inspiring leader from one of the most well-known and iconic direct selling companies, one that we're all very familiar with. He joined the company in 1995 as a staff attorney and quickly rose through the ranks, being appointed to general counsel and the executive team in 7 short years. And since 2017, he has been leading sales and marketing across all markets and across the globe. He's been chairman of the Direct Selling Educational Foundation, as well as chairman of the Direct Selling Association itself. I'm excited to welcome Mary Kay's President of Global Sales and Marketing, Nathan Moore. Nathan, thank you so much for being here on Direct Approach.
Wayne, thank you for having me. It's my honor.
Well, I'm excited to learn today. You have an amazing perspective. You've had an incredible career, again, at one of those companies that is so well known across companies around the globe in so many languages. Everybody knows the company Mary Kay and the individual Mary Kay as well. So I'm excited to hear some of your personal stories about that. You have had a really impressive career, and I would love for you to tell us a little bit about the path that led you initially into direct selling.
Well, it's actually a funny story because I was born and raised near Mary Kay's headquarters. I was born and raised in Arlington, Texas, right down the road, 20 miles from here. And so I grew up sort of in the shadow, right, of Mary Kay. Certainly I knew about her and the company. But when I was in middle school, I was a teenager in middle school, one of my best friends, his father actually worked for Mary Kay, was in sales and worked real closely with Mary Kay Ash. And so back then, the carpool days, carpool to school and carpool to and from sporting events. My friend and his father would be involved in that carpool. And I just remember this dad of a friend always talking about Mary Kay. And in the fondest and just genuine love for his job, love for the company, for what the company did in the community and so forth. And it really, really made an impression on me to hear an adult, as a young teenager, to hear an adult talk so warmly and fondly about their company, that the job. Well, I'm not sure how this dad got a pink Cadillac, but this is back in the 80s, the early 80s. And Wayne, this is when the Cadillacs were huge, right? They were big yachts, if you will. And he probably borrowed one from one of our top sales ladies. But in any event, I think he thought it would embarrass his son to show up after football practice in one of these big pink Cadillacs, the carpool, right? And, well, it had quite the opposite effect. We thought it was the greatest, coolest thing, this gigantic pink Cadillac showing up. And so I just had, and I had many more memories with my friend and his dad over the years. And so I guess you could say that, those seeds were planted about Mary Kay, the company. at an early age. So then fast forward, if you will, to, I go to college and I go to law school, and I'm practicing law in Amarillo, Texas, doing oil and gas litigation. And I'm in the law library. Of course, they don't even have those anymore. In the law library, and there used to be a magazine called the Texas Lawyer Magazine. And in the back of the magazine, there were classified ads for attorney positions, both in law firms and in-house counsel positions. And I remember flipping through that magazine one day, and I remember seeing a staff attorney position open for Mary Kay. And all of those memories came back. And I thought, that's a great company. Boy, I would be very fortunate if I could get an in-house position at a company like that. I'm remembering all those stories and fun times when I was a teenager from my friend. His dad worked here. So I applied. I didn't really think that I had that good of a chance because it's very difficult to move from a law firm to go in-house, but I gave it a shot, and I was fortunate to get the role. And then when I got in as an in-house counsel, shortly after I started, Wayne, I was given the responsibility for working with the sales force. And I remember thinking, well, I don't remember taking classes in law school, about that. And so I was a little hesitant at first. I didn't know what to really do. So I went and met with the head of sales at the time. And I set up a meeting, and I said, hey, I'm the attorney that's assigned to work with the sales group and with the sales leaders. And just sort of the way I was programmed, I said, I want to be the best that you've ever had, the best attorney that you've ever had. So what do I need to do? And he's like, well, I appreciate the question. Let's set aside your law degree for a minute, because the way that you can add value, the way that you can help me and my team, the way you can be the best is if you understand direct selling. You understand our beauty consultants and their businesses. And I said, okay, how do I do that? And he said, well, there's no substitute for being in the field. And you need to find a way to take every opportunity to be in the field and be in front of and interacting with our sales force. And I said, okay, please help me do that. And Wayne, that changed everything for me, because like I'm sure so many of our listeners, once I experienced interacting with our field and I saw firsthand what this opportunity can do for women and for the families, it changed everything for me. And I think we have a saying in Mary Kay that, you come into Mary Kay and then the question is, when will Mary Kay get into you? And it was at that moment that I was so fortunate to get the opportunity to be legal counsel here. But then when I got the opportunity to interact with the field, it changed everything for me.
That is such a great story. Thank you for sharing that. There's so much in that story. So many things kind of bubbled up for me. One, just the pink Cadillac itself. I love what an amazing brand asset that has been over the years. The amazing brand associations where someone can see that in any location, wherever they're at, and see that, know exactly what it's referencing, who it essentially belongs to, what company they're connected to. It has been such a great brand asset over the years. And I also think too, it's been really incredible to me to see how many people have gone from kind of practicing law, being attorneys, coming into companies, and then move into sales roles in direct selling company. It seems like a really proven, career track for many attorneys, but you highlighted that one key, kind of where that shift really happens. And that is when you start to understand direct selling. I think that was incredible advice that you were given. When I started out in direct selling, I spent my first year in a corporate role, a very centralized role, and truly did not understand direct selling, did not understand the distributor mindset until I went into a market and really got to work with the distributors and the consultants really one-on-one. And that's when things changed for me. And again, I had a similar experience where you see those lives change and it does change you. I do think that is such an incredible story.
I think, Wayne, it's the best part of our industry, and it's why I've stayed at Mary Kay. I'm going on my 28th year here at Mary Kay, and it's because, the minute that I had that opportunity to interact and I took it, it changed my life, because it changed my trajectory inside this company. It gave me a perspective that others in support roles, you mentioned the corporate support, others in corporate support roles typically don't have the opportunity to get. But absolutely, I felt like if I knew as much or even more about the direct selling business as my clients that I was serving, then I was on the right track. But I'll tell you that, for those that are listening that are in support roles that have the opportunity, I would just encourage them to ask to be in front of the sales force, to ask to work registration at a live event, ask to volunteer in any way that you can, because no matter where you are in an organization, if you can get in front of the sales force and have that interaction, that's really it. It changes everything, and it makes you more valuable. It makes you be able to appreciate what they go through and the difficulties. But it's a big reason why I've spent my career at Mary Kay, is because I had that chance to work with the field. Love it.
It is life-changing and career-changing. And that is such great advice for people that whatever their role is, make sure that you interact with the field, especially in those early days too. If you can't make it to an event because it might be scheduled for a few weeks out or at a different location, even going and putting on a headset at consultant support or customer support during your lunch hour or something like that, I do think, just so you can hear, what their needs are, what their problems are, what their hopes are. You can learn a lot just by kind of shadowing someone there at the consultant support center. That's another easy way, but it can change your perspective. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So one thing also, I want to start off with a really big congratulations to you and everyone at the company there. The company is celebrating its 60th anniversary. This is such a huge accomplishment, right. So rare for a company to have that type of longevity. And I think that just shows, not just from a financial and longevity success standpoint, but I know that you and everyone at the company there, the main key performance indicator or metric are really the lives that you've impacted, whether it's customers, whether it's the consultants. So congrats for 60 years for really changing a lot of lives there. And it's really tough to even talk about the company or such an important anniversary without talking about the founder herself. I'm curious, you had the opportunity to work with her. What was it about Mary Kay Ash's leadership that has left such an indelible mark on the company, on the direct selling channel as a whole, and lives around the world?
Well, that's a tall order, Wayne. When we're talking about one. Because after all, we're talking about one of America's foremost entrepreneurs, right? And so that's certainly a tall order. I think that Mary Kay has had such an impact on not only the lives of the beauty consultants that have been a part of this organization the last 60 years, but also all employees that have had the opportunity to work at Mary Kay. We have over 50% of our domestic employees have been with the company over 10 years. I mean, that's an incredible number from just a percentage perspective. We have current employees that have worked for the company for over 40 years. So it's similar, Wayne, in our subsidiaries. And we've had Canada, Mary Kay Canada celebrating 45 years, and we have employees with a lot of longevity and tenure there. I think it says a lot about the company when you have that kind of tenure. But Mary Kay Ash was was brilliant in so many ways. And, over the course of the years, I've seen numerous instances, Wayne, where like today books are written about concepts that she just did in the 60s instinctively or intuitively. And as an example, the importance of recognition and praise it is talked about and written about today in leadership classes and so forth. But yet that was so important to her when she started her company in 1963. And I remember I was at a leadership class at Wharton one time several years ago, and there was an entire segment on sort of the importance of positive reinforcement and the importance of praise and recognition from a physiological standpoint. And there was all this data and all these charts on, showing brain waves and things that happened to the body that was positive because of recognition. And I remember I went up to the professor afterwards and I remember saying, this is all fascinating. Because, there were words that were used like emotional intelligence and things like that. And Mary Kay never knew what it didn't call it that, right? But the point I'm just trying to make is that Mary Kay knew, and that's just one example of how of how that would make people feel and how important that was in her business, both with employees and with beauty consultants. Recognition was so important to her in the early days, and it still is to this day. We really work hard to make people feel important. That's one of the four core principles that we still have to this day. It's called Make Me Feel Important. And Mary Kay understood this. She insisted that it be part of the foundation of her company, and it still is to this very day. So it's interesting to see how, and that's just one example, but there are other examples of where there's books and there's teachings. Everybody knows Simon Sinek probably, and he talks about companies that are infinite game companies. Well, that's a clever term for it, but it was something she did without calling it that when she created the company, right? She created an infinite game company in that it was all about helping other people. And as long as you focused on helping other people, the mission, enriching women's lives, as long as you did that, Mary Kay believed everything else would take care of itself. And that's an infinite game company. That means, if you're just, you don't care what the competition's doing, you don't care what the macro environment is, you stay mission focused and you keep working. In our case, helping women, helping other people. You stay focused on that, everything else takes care of itself.
That is incredible. She has left such an incredible legacy and a mark that continues to impact all of us in the channel, and I know there as well. And just as you mentioned, I've read a lot about her over the years, her life, her business advice, and I was always impressed by when she was asked for business advice, it was always about how to treat people, how to help other people, how to treat people. And that has really left an impression on me that is really what business is all about. That if you do take care of the individual, the consultant, the consumer, that is good business. So incredible legacy.
Great way of putting it.
So
that is a great way of putting it.
In addition to the impact that obviously Mary Kay has had, this visionary founder, what are a few of the other key factors that you feel have really contributed to this 60 years of success at Mary Kay?
There are many. I think, though, for me, Wayne, probably next to having Mary Kay Ash as a founder would probably have to be that the family still owns the business to this day. And many may not know that in the late 60s, the company did an IPO and went public. And so the company was for a while traded publicly. And then in 1985, there was a family-led leveraged buyout where the family took back control of the company. And so to have the family, the wonderful Mary Kay family, own the company today, I think has been very, very important. certainly, in my opinion, a big blessing to everybody that comes into contact with it. Because for this reason, the family honors the legacy of the founder. And that is important to them. And I've had the opportunity in my previous role as chief legal officer and general counsel, and in my current role to interact with the family on occasion. And anytime I do, and I have the opportunity to share how their company is changing lives, how we're executing on the mission, there is just this sincere joy and appreciation, and that's important. That's important to me.
That's incredible. I think that actually also, not to shine the spotlight back on you, but I think that speaks a lot for the culture there, your leadership style, that you've focused on the family, on the legacy, and how important that has been to the company's success. Again, I think that speaks volumes. And I know that the mission and being mission-driven, mission-focused has been something that's very important to you and the company there as well. Can you talk a little bit about what being kind of that mission-driven approach that you and the company take, what that means today, and how you keep this enormous global company aligned around that mission?
It's a great question, and a company of our scale and size and breadth around the world, you're right. It has to be of paramount importance. The good news is that the mission, you have to go all the way back to 1963 when she started the company to understand where our mission comes from. And it comes directly from Mary Kay Ash. And you have to understand, too, that it was so intensely personal to her. I mean, I would even say she felt convicted, right, to help other people. I mean, if you think about it, she actually started this company. She sat down to write a book. She didn't have a product, skincare in our case. She didn't have that and say, how do I sell more of it, for instance? That's not how this company started. Completely different from that is that she actually sat down to write a book to help women. And what she ended up with was a business plan. And then she had to figure out what was the best product for her business plan. But her business plan was to help women. So I share that with you, Wayne, because when I talk about the mission of the company, it goes all the way back to her, and it goes all the way back to being so very personal to her. And so she insisted, if you will, that throughout the years that we as employees and leaders in the company, that, she sort of surrounded herself with like-minded individuals and leaders. And I mean, when I came from the legal environment and I came into this company, I shared that story about I knew a little bit about the company. But when I really started getting involved with the sales force and working here, I really understood that this was about helping other people. And so everything we do, Wayne, we have to filter it through, is this in furtherance of, does this support our mission? Because she really, really believed deep down in her heart that if she helped enough women achieve their dreams, achieve success, that everything else would be taken care of. That's it's one of the most important leadership principles in my mind that she established very early on. And that was you stay focused on the mission. You stay focused, in our case, it's enriching the lives of women and their families. And so if you stay focused on that, everything else takes care of itself. And so new employee orientations, both here domestically and around the world, of course, it's currently 3 days long, and the first day is all about our mission, our values, and our beauty consultants. That's the whole first day. Then there's a day on sort of the product and the brand and things like that, and then there's a day on some other things. But at the end of the day, I mean, we kick off with, here's our mission, here's our vision, here's our values. No matter where you are in this organization, if you're a forklift driver, if you're working on the line, on the lipstick line, you play a part in fulfilling this vision and this mission. And you got to tie it to that. I mean, Wayne, I'm a mission absolutist. A large reason why I'm at this company and have been for a long time is because I believe in it, and I've seen what it does, and I just work very hard to keep it going.
I love that story. And I love those examples that you used. It's interesting. I think that relates a lot to something I've noticed from Mary Kay from afar, is the importance of focus. I mean, on that mission, on that consultant, who she is, what her needs are, how you can support her. I've used Mary Kay as a company, in whether it's with companies or clients, as an example of this long-term focus. I think so many of our companies over time are willing to maybe diffuse a lot of that focus or change it in the pursuit of growth. And I do think what Mary Kay has done, where it's been focusing and drilling deep there, that has also really helped to contribute that, whether it's with who the audience is. Again, I know Mary Kay is about empowering women, whether it's who you're going after, and from a product portfolio standpoint, it's really easy to start adding audiences and categories and products and say, we're for everyone. We're men and women 18 to 64 and Mary Kay has remained so focused over the years. That's one thing that, again, it's been a great example to me of the power of that focus and consistency.
Well, actually, Wayne, that gives me great joy to hear you say that as an outside, if you will, observer, because, Mary Kay is known for a lot of quotes. There's many quotes that are attributed to Mary Kay Ash. But one of them that's very appropriate regarding focus was, she said, you can't chase two rabbits and catch either one. And she also had a mnemonic, KISS, that she used a lot. And that stands for Keep It Simple, Sweetie. That was her. So when you talk about this focus, it's not something that you just observe and you think, oh, well, it's neat, they've been focused. Well, it's been very intentional, right? And that intentionality comes, again, directly from Mary Kay Ash. She believed in keeping it simple. She believed in keeping everything focused. Now, it's challenging, as you sort of alluded to, with a company that's 60 years old, that's in over 35 countries around the world. How do you do that through time, and how do you do that through scope? Well, you have to remain, dedicated and sort of convicted in terms of staying focused. We like to call it. I've been challenging my team lately to achieve transformation through simplification. It sounds sort of counterintuitive, but it's like, no, we can really transform this business if we simplify this business even more than we are now. Keep doing it, keep simplifying it. Keep making it, I like to say, simple, seamless, rewarding. If you do that, then you're going to enhance the experience that our customer, our beauty consultant, has with us. And Wayne, today, our chief competitor, and not just Mary Kay, I would say our industry, our chief competitor is time. Mm-hmm. And so I think that the more Mary Kay, the more all of our companies can make it simple, make it seamless, make it rewarding, then the more good we can all do.
Oh, I think that's really powerful. We always think that it's about doing more and adding things. And oftentimes it's about taking things away and focusing on those few levers that are going to have the biggest impact again. And I think the company has done such an amazing job of that. And kind of to that point, I'd love to ask a product question. With beauty and color cosmetics, that is a really competitive, very crowded category that has left so many brands in its wake over the years because it is so fast moving. It is so seasonal. Trends change, tastes change, colors change. I'm curious how the company goes about being both timely in the short term and then timeless over the long term.
Well, I think there's several reasons that we've been able to have such a timely and timeless, if to use your terminology. And I think it goes back to understanding that we have a very, very loyal customer base. I mean, we know this from studies and from data and from research that we get, but we have we have this customer loyalty that we're known for, and that has taken time, but it's also taken it's taken place because of a very careful balance between sort of what's tried and true, and then the new, right? That's how I would think about it. And many people may not realize that we have here in the Dallas area, we have a fabulous team of R&D professionals. We have in 2018 we opened so it's relatively new, state-of-the-art Richard R. Rogers manufacturing and research and development facility that's here locally. And a lot of people, Wayne, are surprised to know that we have over 1,600 global patents. And so there's a lot of innovation that has taken place in this facility, a lot of skincare technology and things like that. And so I think at the end of the day, you're right, it's a very intensely competitive environment. I think what benefits us is having that state-of-the-art manufacturing facility, having that R&D team that is constantly looking at innovation and constantly watching trends and making sure that we're ready for the new. But at the same time, Wayne, we have to stay with the tried and true, because of 60 years of a focus on skincare, as you pointed out earlier.
DSN is excited to announce that registration is now open for the DSU Fall 2023 event. Join 500 plus executive leaders on Wednesday, October 11th and Thursday, October 12th for a 2-day masterclass packed with cutting-edge insights, strategies, and game-changing ideas from more than 30 industry executives and subject matter expert speakers. Discover emerging trends and dynamics shaping the industry, including enhanced affiliate marketing, digital strategies, and generative AI. Learn from top-rated speakers like Blake Mallon, Brandon White, Stuart Johnson, Wayne Moorhead, and Heather Chastain, as well as new speakers to the DSU stage like John Akala with It Works, Jen Ashby with Savvy, Madison Millardi with Lime Life by Alcone, Brian Gill with For Life, Roger Morgan with Pawtree, and many more. This in-person event offers priceless networking opportunities and energizing ideation sessions. Don't miss out on the chance to connect with future-focused executives and gain valuable knowledge to propel your business forward. Register now at dsu2023.com and secure your spot for this transformative event. Now, a word from one of our premier supplier sponsors. DSN is honored to be supported by industry suppliers that partner with companies across the channel to help enhance, streamline, and grow your businesses. This episode is sponsored by InfoTrax. For 30 years, InfoTrax has developed exceptional software solutions. Their cloud-based platform offers everything customers need for a successful compensation plan. Their commission calculator, web-based development portal, data subscriptions, commission management, health monitoring displays, and support team are here for you. You may have heard recently that InfoTrax partnered with BigCommerce, a flexible software-as-a-service platform to help you grow and convert more customers. BigCommerce equips you with fast-scaling e-commerce success with e-commerce tools and customizable storefronts that fit your brand. And the user-friendly interface empowers you to make changes with clicks, not code, to improve productivity and reduce costs. Visit infotraxsys.com. That's infotraxsys.com to learn more. Now let's get back to the interview with Nathan Moore, President of Global Sales and Marketing of Mary Kay.
As I've been at companies where the potential of moving into those categories has come up, everyone, because of the complexity, because of the competition, everyone, at least that I've been around, we try to say stay out of those categories because they are so hard. And again, your company and everyone there has done such an amazing job of really being a leader and a trailblazer for so many years in such an amazing but incredibly complex category. So thank you for the leadership there as well. And that kind of relates to my next question too around, and this is another selfish question for me to just learn. That's one of the benefits of doing this podcast is I get to put a lot of my own personal questions in here. But Mary Kay, as we spoke about earlier, is such a well-recognized brand around the globe. I mean, everyone, no matter what country you go to, they know the brand Mary Kay. It is so iconic. Can you talk a little bit about how the company approaches brand marketing and brand building versus maybe product and field marketing? Is there budget? Is it intentional? Or is it end up being kind of a byproduct of doing those other marketing efforts right? I don't know if I asked that question correctly, but hopefully the spirit of that question came through.
No, I understand it, Wayne, because it's something that, I came from the legal side of the business. Right. And so it's a question I certainly appreciate, but I'll tell you this, it all starts with the beauty consultant. And what I mean by that is, and again, this comes from Mary Kay Ash, but it's all about her. It's all about the beauty consultant. And so we start at it from the perspective of what does she need? What does the beauty consultant need to win in the market? What does she need? I mean, the retail proposition is very important to us. And so what does she need to win in the market? It starts right there. And then once we understand that, then you take the overall brand experience strategy, and then you align the resources to support it, the execution. But at the end of the day, and what I mean by that, and I don't know if it came through, Wayne, but it's sort of like, you don't want to have, this program or this promotion that's being done over here, and this sales thing that's being done over here, and then this brand thing. At the end of the day, it's all about her being able to win. And then you back up and you align the resources to execute on that. And so it's something I've been very intentional about. I'm huge on alignment. I mean, if you asked any of my team, they're going to say it's one of my favorite words. And I think it's because you have in any organization a finite amount of resources. And so you must align those resources to achieve your objective and execute. And the better a company is at doing that, the more successful you're going to be.
Thank you for that. I learned a lot right there too. And I think one of the main things was about just making sure that you have the right foundation and building a brand. That if you go out and do all this brand marketing and put tons of dollars from an awareness, but the foundation isn't there, it's inauthentic, it's not going to work, it's not going to last. But by kind of going a little bit more bottoms up on the approach, you really have that kind of lasting and iconic brand that ultimately ends up getting developed. I think that's really incredible. I know another thing, you mentioned alignment and that is a big focus and something that's very important to you. I also know from hearing you speak in meetings and events that empowering leaders is another one of your big focuses and things that you feel is really important, especially right now, maybe more important than ever. Can you share a little bit about this and your thoughts on why you feel this is more important than ever to be doing now?
Well, thank you. You're exactly right. It's something that is personally important to me. And Wayne, you know me in terms of that I love direct selling. Not only love my company, but I love this industry. And like you, it's in large part because of the good that we all can collectively accomplish, right? It's the lives that we can change. It's helping somebody in some small way, eliminate the curse and remove that curse of poverty, for example, or change the trajectory of somebody's family tree forever. And so I am extremely optimistic about our future as a company and our industry, because the world needs us now more than ever, in my opinion. I mean, we know that what people want right now totally aligns with what direct selling companies offer, right? I mean, whether it's a culture of connection, a culture of support and affirmation and recognition, we know that these connections that through the pandemic have been challenged. We know it's coming out of this pandemic. We know it's more important than ever. Well, our companies offer that. Our business plans and opportunities offer the opportunity for these connections and these relationships, and the ability to develop professionally, personally, the ability to earn a little extra money. All these things are so important right now. We as an industry, I mean, if I could just be a commercial for our industry for a minute, Wayne,
Sure.
I mean, we have this opportunity. And so I'm very excited about what the future holds. I think that as leaders, we sort of have to seize this moment. Leaders of our companies, leaders within the industry, and developing leaders, leading our companies well. It doesn't just happen, right? I mean, like everything, Wayne, I think we've got to work at it, and we've got to hone those skills, and we've got to keep learning and keep improving. And so it's just something that's I'm real passionate about, is that, and then we certainly try to do that here internally, is how do we constantly improve internally? There's a lot of great training programs and education programs for our fields. But I think sometimes, Wayne, we forget that we got to look inwardly too. I've always felt that the morale of the team, the morale of the employees in the direct selling company is the morale of the field. Meaning that, the field, they're so smart, they're so sharp, they can sense, when something's not right, and so I do believe that we all have to say, you know what, we are well positioned. We will figure this out. We've got an enormous opportunity ahead of us. We also have to focus internally with our teams, and make sure that everybody is in agreement with that and aligned with that, and then working on improving, so that we can in turn, support our fields the best way possible.
I love that. That is really powerful. And I agree with you. I've seen and experienced myself where a lot of us are really good at that development of the training and education of the field. We have these great formal programs around leadership development, personal development. But we as employees are oftentimes, and unfortunately, kind of an afterthought. What are some of the ways that either you with your team or the company as a whole really helps to kind of continue to develop those internal stakeholders, those employees, to then in turn, ultimately benefit the consultants?
Well, Craig Rochelle, who many listeners will probably know who he is, he likes to say that if the leader gets better, everyone benefits. And I love that. But as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't just happen. I mean, we have to work at it. And so it's something that we do internally. We spend a lot of time, Wayne, working to develop leaders internally. I mean, at the end of the day, what I would love within the Mary Kay organization is to have empowered leaders sort of deep and wide throughout the entire organization. And that's going to require intentionality. That's going to require us to continue to work at that. It comes from Mary Kay, again, like so much of a lot of what you're hearing from me today. But she was so others focused. We're trying to sort of replicate that throughout the organization. Every leader is expected to be others focused, focusing on your teams. And if you can replicate that, deep and wide throughout an organization, then not only is it a more fun and sort of a, more content place to work, but it's also, just a very powerful organization when you can have that empowerment deep and wide. I think the main thing, though, is that it doesn't just happen. I mean, you have to be intentional about it, and you have to work at it. You have to have a mindset of embracing change and continuing to learn and get better.
Absolutely. That's really powerful. So as it relates to internal leaders, kind of on that same topic, the company recently appointed a new CEO in Ryan Rogers. Can you share a little bit about his leadership and his vision for Mary Kay going forward? I think it's been since about the beginning of the year that he's taken on that role. Is that correct?
That's correct. In January, he assumed the role of CEO. And it's fantastic news for Mary Kay worldwide, for the Mary Kay family, for all the stakeholders. I've worked with Ryan for over 20 years here at Mary Kay, and we couldn't be happier for Ryan and for the company and what it means for us going forward. There's no leader that is more invested, if you will, in terms of making this Mary Kay dream continue for another 60 years than Ryan Rogers. And interestingly, this is something that Mary Kay Ash wanted. And the reason I know that is because she wanted one of her grandchildren to one day lead the company. And Ryan shared at a recent Salesforce event, he shared a photo taken from the inside cover of one of her books, one of her most famous books that she wrote, called Mary Kay on People Management. You probably have read that book. But inside, so Ryan got this when he was a young man, I don't know, 10, 11, something like that. But he's kept it all these years. And he showed a picture on the big screen to our Salesforce when he was giving his inaugural speech. And the gist of what Mary Kay Ash, his grandmother, wrote was, learn everything in this book, for you'll need it one day when you lead my company.
Wow.
And so that's a pretty special, yeah. Can you believe that? Isn't
that's
that cool?
Amazing.
And so that's pretty special that he is, fulfilling one of her dreams. And I can tell you it's special for all of us as leaders. It's special for our company. It's special for our sales force to know that. So we're excited about what the future holds for another 60 years.
That is an incredible story. How amazing. And again, what an incredible continuation of that legacy, and the fact that still within the family, but someone that's been inside for so long is there at the helm to kind of continue and carrying that legacy forward. So as it relates to Mary Kay, and we've touched on this a little bit kind of throughout the conversation, but I'm curious, whether it's leadership or even personal, what do you feel is probably the greatest lesson that you learned from Mary Kay herself, whether it's leadership again or personal?
For me, Wayne, it's her focus on others. In business school, you don't learn that's what you're supposed to do when you get out and you lead a team, right? I mean, that's not something that I picked up on. I had to, and certainly not in a law firm environment. I got that when I came here, and I read her book. And I saw that was sort of the DNA of how she started the company, focusing on others. But as it relates to leading a team, Wayne, when you focus on your team, when it's not about you, when it's about the success of your team, everything else does take care of itself. I would like to think that I'm an example of that, because I picked up on that early in my career in the legal department. And I focused on my team. And as my team grew in size over the years, as I picked up additional responsibility, I kept doing that. I just kept focusing on making sure my team was successful. If that meant somebody, a legal secretary, a paralegal, actually had a marketing degree and wanted to be in the marketing department, and that was outside of the legal division, then I did my best to help that person get that job. that was, even though that person may have been a high potential that I would love to have kept in the legal department, practicing Mary Kay's principle of focusing on others first, it just works, Wayne. And it's something that I have two boys, two sons, who are starting their careers. And I told both of them, I said, one of the most important things you can do as you start your careers is to understand this Mary Kay principle, and that is focus on your team. Focus on your team being successful. And it's very rewarding, Wayne, to watch your children emulate this and it work out for them too. And so for me, it's an easy one. There's so many of Mary Kay Ash's principles and philosophies that are near and dear to me. But to me, if every one of us listening did this, no question in my mind, the world would be a better place.
I love that. And I'm glad that was the one that you went to, and it was kind of right there at the top of mind. So you mentioned about the importance of retail. And I know that you and the company have done a lot in digital and e-commerce to maintain and provide a really great retail experience, even online. I'm curious how the company is approaching e-commerce and maybe some of the newest kind of AI tools that are out there to kind of help consultants introduce products and help us more easily sell products to consumers online.
Well, absolutely, Wayne. The retail proposition of a Mary Kay Beauty Consultant is paramount for us. So any digital tool, for that matter, over time, any tool that we develop, it's a tool that helps her win. I think I mentioned that earlier. So that's the first question, from a decision tree standpoint. Is this a tool that will help her win in the marketplace? So as an example, we've launched a consumer app but that app ties the consumer to the consultant, because those consumers are customers of the Mary Kay Independent Beauty Consultant. And so what this consumer app does is it allows a better experience between the consumer and her Mary Kay Beauty Consultant. And it's been very successful. Another instance of technology that we just launched is the ability to, we're a party plan company. Mary Kay is focused. I've got a picture in my office that I'm looking at, and it's of Mary Kay Ash conducting a skincare class around a kitchen table. And that's how it all began, right? Well, today, if time is a chief competitor of ours, then how do we allow that type of around the kitchen table, if you will, to take place in a virtual format? Well, you can do that through technology we're calling Shop My Party, and it's essentially a virtual party tool that empowers the sales force like never before. I mean, she can still have her physical live parties around a kitchen table. She can do a combination of a virtual party with a live party around the table, or she can just do all virtual. So that's just an example of how we're approaching technology. Our approach I came right at the time that the .com era was beginning. I was at Mary Kay before internet, right? So BI. So I kind of watched us evolve into this new era. But always the focus has been, and this is something I'm very proud of. I didn't have anything to do with it, but I'm very proud that the company said, you know what? Any technology we develop, it's going to be about our sales force. It's going to be about what makes her successful. So whether it was investing early in the 90s in B2B, meaning Mary Kay with the consultants, the beauty consultants, that's where we poured our attention and our resources, was in that experience. I think it was the right move. Because we have an incredible infrastructure now that allows us. It allows me to say, I want simple, seamless, and rewarding experience with our sales force, right? Because we invested in that platform early on, and we continue to do that. to this day. So I think if I'm answering your question correctly, I think sort of from an industry perspective, I think everybody's all over the place. And but I know, I mean, you kind of alluded to this when you talked about the focus early on. I'll just say that for Mary Kay, we're focused on what makes her successful. If it doesn't do that, we're not interested in it.
I love that is the litmus test. The filter for decision making is, again, back to that mission, back to that purpose. I think as quote unquote simple as it might sound, it is really difficult to maintain that focus and use that as a litmus test. But you and the company have done that so well, obviously to incredible results. You've been so generous with your time. I just have one more question. You've talked about why it's such a great time for all of us here in direct selling, but do you have any advice? What are some of the things that you think that we as direct selling companies need to be doing to really remain relevant and maintain that leadership position in this kind of rapidly and ever-changing business landscape?
Right. Well, again, I think that, I mean, there have been some tough macro headwinds around the world, right? You had, a pandemic, whether it's low, record low unemployment, and then sort of, 40-year high inflation, whatever the case may be. I mean, we have some pretty challenging headwinds. However, I would say, as I mentioned earlier, we do have the opportunity as an industry to be this collective force of good, of the ability to at scale provide a vehicle that affords the opportunity to change lives. I think as technology is rapidly expanding, I think that all of us are going to need to understand what our individual missions are, remain laser focused on those missions, and then remember that we're all in the same industry, but time, I believe that time is our chief competitor, Wayne. And all of us have to figure out how to make our businesses more simple, more seamless, and more rewarding. Simple, seamless, rewarding. We can do that if we can focus on the experience that our distributors have with us, and we can focus on those things. I think that we can all make an incredibly positive difference in our communities and in our country. I'm extremely optimistic about it. I know we all are part of this industry because, at least I hope that we all are part of it because of the lives that we are able to change. I think I'm one of direct selling's biggest fans because of my opportunities to just see the benefits of not just not just Mary Kay, but all of our companies can really be a force for good. And I hope that continues in the near future. I'm optimistic it can. And my hope is that everyone that's listening will be encouraged and inspired to keep pressing on.
That is such the perfect spot to end on. Nathan, thank you so much for your time. You were really generous. Thank you for the wonderful insights and inspiration that you shared. And I think on behalf of all of us, thank you for the incredible champion that you've been for the industry, for the channel. It's really benefited all of us. And we really appreciate all of that time and effort that is above and beyond, your day-to-day job that you have there, which is a 24/7 job anyway. But thank you for all the time and effort that you've done on advocating for us and our consultants around the world.
It's my honor and pleasure. I love my company and I love being a part of this great industry. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you for tuning in. Please take a minute to give a rating and review to help Direct Approach continue to provide candid interviews and insights for direct selling corporate executives. And register today for DSU2023.com to join 500 plus of your peers October 11th and 12th for the DSU Fall event in Irving, Texas. Thank you for listening and supporting DSN and the Direct Approach podcast.